Okay, guys, so as you can see, I am using Mr. Douglas's presentation, but this is for chemical reactions. So we're starting this unit on chemical reactions, and the first thing we are going to learn in this unit is about chemical properties, and we're just adding a word of caution that you need to make sure you understand the previous material that we've learned. Okay, so there are two types of properties, right? We have our physical properties, which can be observed without changing the identity of the substance. So that's, for example, if ice melts into water or water evaporates into gas. Those are physical properties, right? Whereas chemical properties can only be observed by changing the identity of the substance. So that's basically just what it reacts with, right? And I'm going to upload the PowerPoint slides so you guys will be able to look at these slides and the note sheet while you are working on your worksheet. But this is a great flowchart to look through if you're trying to determine if your property is chemical or physical, right? So you're wondering if it changes the identity of the subject. If it does not, it is a chemical property. If it does, it is a physical property. Don't worry right now about intensive physical properties and extensive physical properties. It's just important to understand the difference between chemical properties and physical properties. And then we get into physical changes or chemical changes. They're very similar to the actual properties. Physical changes, you see a lot of this. The big idea here with the physical change is that no bonds were broken during the change. For example, when ice melts to water, it's still H2O. It's still H2O during ice, and it's still H2O during the liquid phase, right? No bonds were broken during that change. Whereas with a chemical change, you are seeing the bonds break, right? Maybe you're going from H2O into hydrogen gas. So those are two different substances, and they have been broken. The bonds have been broken, or new bonds have been made during that change. And that's a chemical change. It's changing the chemistry of that substance. Here are just some examples of physical changes. Right, so you can see that none of these are actually changing the chemical composition. And then here's some examples of chemical changes, right? So all of these are changing the chemical composition, right? When you burn wood, that's changing the chemistry. Metabolism, when you break down your food, right, you're changing the chemistry, etc. All these are examples, right, of chemical changes. And then last but not least, there are some signs that there's been a chemical change take place. It's not always the easiest thing to see. Of course, the first thing would be a color change, right? So you can see down here with the 4 test tubes, it's white, and then you can see a bright yellow, right? That's a color change that usually signifies a chemical change. A temperature change, right? If it gets hotter, like fire burning, right? That's a chemical change. If you form a precipitate, we talked briefly about precipitates. That's when you form a solid. I think we formed this yellow one in the test tube with lead, right? You form that solid. That's a sign of a chemical change. And last, light emission, right? So a fire emits light. That's a chemical change. Or fireworks, right, emit light. Those are chemical changes. Light emission, or light being given off, right, are chemical changes. Okay, so that's all we're learning today. It's a short little lesson. I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to do some of the more math concepts, how I'm going to draw on my screen. It's going to be interesting. But hopefully this is enough to get you through the first worksheet.